Two of the committees, Energy Security and Finance in particular, produced actions that will address the climate crisis, which of course is an existential crisis for our planet, and the Caribbean is on the front lines of this crisis. We will take steps to accelerate implementation of what we named the U.S. Caribbean Partnership to Address the Climate Crisis, also known as PAC 2030, which I launched at the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles. The United States, to that end, is committed to 4 areas in particular. 1, to identify new clean energy projects, to provide technical assistance to our partners in the Caribbean, to bring investors to the Caribbean, and to improve access to development financing, which was the subject of much discussion in our previous meetings. And we are sending a team, in fact, to the Caribbean this fall to jumpstart this process. On the issue of food security, we know that disruptions from Russia's aggression in Ukraine, from the pandemic, and of course from the climate crisis, have put pressure on global food prices and have led to food shortages. Addressing food security in the Caribbean and around the world is a priority for our administration. Since we met at the Summit of the Americas, the work has already begun. The United States has committed $28 million to provide food security assistance to the Caribbean. In furtherance of that, the Food Security Committee, having met and worked these months, has developed a series of actions that the United States will take. In particular, we will promote good agricultural practices and do what we can to enhance those practices in the Caribbean. We will contribute to addressing the logistical barriers to transportation. And as we know, that is a very important detail when we are talking about combating food insecurity anywhere, and in particular in the Caribbean. We will remove non-tariff barriers to facilitate movement of the food in the region. We will incorporate climate-smart technology into the food protection system and food production system, and we will provide training on areas such as pest management, a very important detail and something that must be addressed. In conclusion, I will say, as I have said before, the relationship between the United States and the Caribbean is based on common bonds and interests. As neighbors in the Western Hemisphere, we believe it is critical that we have a relationship that is based on close cooperation, knowing that the result of that will be our shared prosperity and security, which is why we, the United States, have pledged to increase our commitment and engagement with our Caribbean partners. So again, I welcome you, I thank you, and I look forward to our discussion and our meeting this afternoon. And I'll now turn to President Santoki of Suriname to speak about the role that you are playing as the chair of CARICOM and so much else. Thank you and welcome again.
Thank you very much, Vice President Kamala Harris, Presidents from Dominican Republic, from Guyana, Prime Minister from Trinidad, Barbados, and other delegates, ladies and gentlemen, and also the press media. Our meeting today is the concrete result of the agreement that was made during a meeting of the President and Vice President of the United States of America with the heads of government of the Caribbean nations that were present at the 9th Summit of the Americas in June this year in LA. The 3 joint committees, as mentioned by the Vice President, that were formed shortly afterwards, held several meetings and are presenting the first reports. As CARICOM, we have kept the timeline that was agreed. After 3 months, we have done enough work to meet again with the U.S. Vice President, the Dominican Republic President, and also the co-chairs of the 3 committees to discuss the progress we have made. From the CARICOM, we have come in full strength to underline that we are serious. with a new form of cooperation between the U.S. and the Caribbean. President Irfan Ali of Guyana, the co-chair for the Committee on Food Security, is here. So is the Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados, who was co-chairing the Committee on Financing. And the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kit Rowley, is here, who is co-chair of the Committee on Energy Security. As chair of CARICOM, I am here with this strong Caribbean team to demonstrate not only our commitment, but also our unity. Those of us that are here represent the whole CARICOM. We have a number of serious problems in the region that need to be addressed, such as the threat of climate change, the insecurity of our food and energy, and the access to financing. The problems with the supply chain of goods as a result of the war in Ukraine have become manifest and have led to increased prices. It has also led to problems with the flow of energy. The solutions are not easy, but we are glad that we have a strong partner, the United States of America, who is willing to work with us on all these issues. Thus far, we have had a good and serious working relationship with the U.S., and we expect that to continue. We expect to make good progress today, to set clear timelines with respect to the work that needs to be done. And we also hope that we can talk about some budget lines. Vice President, CARICOM and USA are neighbors. And let me be very clear, the Caribbean is not your third border. We are one of the three first borders of the United States of America. As such, our relationship is a long-standing and important one. We are one in this region because we depend on each other, so we must find ways to strengthen and expand our relations. The Summit of the Americas opened a window for such a goal. Our prosperity and stability depends on how we organize ourselves and satisfy in a mutually beneficial way our goal. We are convinced they'll take good step forward on the road that we have agreed to travel together. Thank you very much, and thank you all also very much for the opportunity we get as leaders to have further discussion with you to strengthen the relation between the United States of America and the CARICOM.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome again. And now I will invite President Abinader from the Dominican Republic to share his thoughts.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Vice President Harris and President Santoki for the CARICOM, Prime Minister Hawley, Mia, and President Ali from Guyana. I think that our teams have worked in these 3 months after the Summit of the Americas, and they have defined the objective and the actions. I think this is an excellent opportunity today as to follow up and also to take decisions to concrete actions. And I think we have defined our teams with the United States has worked, and there is time to define those actions with a timetable and a critical route. The sense of urgency that we manifest on the Summit of America is we still have that same sense of urgency. That urgency on the part of the energy part, hydrocarbons, and especially on the natural gas, is a critical situation in the world because of the invasion of Russia to Ukraine. But at the same time, when you go to the security, food security, it's also related because it's impacting the urea in terms of the fertilizers. So it's, you have a communication tunnel on those two problems. And on the part of the finance, our countries have done a special, had to finance a special programs to subsidize hydrocarbons. We have been subsidizing hydrocarbons and not to in order that the gasoline and gas oil and all the other product doesn't go up since middle of February. This was not in our budget, and this has happened also to our only other countries from CARICOM. The same, we have subsidized certain foods. We have subsidized urea. None of these subsidies were in our budget. We have to adapt it, and we were speaking with President Ali that we have to take money from other areas, from infrastructure that we had to build, and to take it into subsidies that were necessary to control inflation and to guarantee the amount of food to our people. This three ideas, United States, CARICOM, and us has worked, and I think, Vice President, is the time that we all can take the decision. And thank you very much for this invitation.
It's good to see you again. Thank you, and welcome again. With that, I think we will now begin our meeting, and I thank the press for joining us.